What's up, everybody? Thanks for tuning in to Fan Culture. Next episode, got everyone back here again. How y'all feeling?
Feeling good.
Good.
Glad to be
Episode
back.
7. I'm ready.
Yeah, episode
Hello.
7. You good, Sakani?
Doing well.
Before I forget, we do have a Facebook page up now, so make sure to check us out, Fan Culture Podcast on Facebook, posting more polls and just updates on the episodes and everything there, so make sure to check that out. We got a lot to get into, obviously NBA playoffs. We're going to talk about the All-NBA teams. Finals have been announced for a lot of the NBA season awards. Let's go ahead and get into the NBA playoffs. So obviously the Warriors just made their 5th straight finals by sweeping the Blazers. What'd y'all think about that series? I mean, I know Carl kind of talked about it already. We talked about it off air that the conference finals has kind of been boring.
I think it's because we thought it would be more competitive, because the way Portland survived like the last round and just the way Dame was playing and the way what's his name? CJ. There you go. I don't know why. Yeah, no, the way CJ was playing, they were all playing they both were playing at a high level. So I think that's why we thought it would be a little bit more competitive, but obviously that wasn't the case.
I felt like it was not what any of us expected. With KD not being in the series, I thought it was going to be a lot closer.
Yeah.
But I think a lot of us were shocked. Yeah, I think a lot of us were shocked in that the Warriors are gelling in a way that looks very familiar to their 2015 run. And so I think it brought up a lot of talk about how badly the Warriors need him. Yeah, I think that's more so than the focus of the Western Conference Finals. It's not even about the games, but more so the way the Warriors showed up without KD being there. And then on the Eastern Conference side, I mean, it's been the home team holding court. Right now, I'm watching the game, 49-46, Milwaukee's up. It's wild to see Kawhi playing as hard and as heavy and as many minutes as he has been playing. And seeing how much, and to see how much Toronto really is relying on him. And if they don't make it to the finals, they would have to convince him that they're going to make some major changes in order for him to stay there, I think. It's been an interesting Eastern Conference. I really don't think whoever comes out is going to be able to beat the Warriors, honestly. But, it is what it is. I think Warriors are going to repeat. So if one of those teams manages to beat the Warriors, then that's going to be another, upset of the century.
So this would be what? The Warriors' 5th consecutive trip to the finals, right?
Yeah, this is their 5th.
I think because they've had several roster changes. They've kept their core for the most part, which has been Clay, Steph, Draymond, Steve Kerr. I consider him a part because he's the same coach, right? Iggy, right?
Sean.
But they've had people like this supporting cast like change, but they've still been able to figure it out and get it done. I think at this point they just know how to win, especially like in those like do or die situations, and it's made them that much harder to beat. With KD going down, they were still able to sweep Portland. You know what I mean? You have two not potential all-stars, but 2 all-stars and their cast. But I don't know. Whoever comes out of the East, I'm hoping it's Milwaukee, because I don't really know about Toronto playing both teams. But I just want to see the matchup with Giannis versus the Warriors. I want to see what that's gonna look like.
It looked like it's gonna look worse than LeBron did last year.
Well,
I don't like talking about this. It's a very sensitive subject.
why is it sensitive?
I had a prediction for the Western Conference Finals. This was actually before Game 7 between Portland and Denver. When Kevin Durant went down, Warriors still win Game 5, come out win Game 6 in Houston. I remember telling Justin Caldwell and his roommate, oh man, Dame, I can already tell, like, he got that in his mind. Like, if I can get past this Denver team and I can go up against a guard heavy without Kevin Durant, now a guard heavy Warriors team, I'm finna go off. And, you know, he did what he was supposed to do. You know, CJ basically led Portland, but they did what they were supposed to do by getting past Denver. But in that series, it was just very, very disappointing. I wasn't too worried about the first two losses. You lose in Golden State, you lose in Golden State. It's kind of expected. You're supposed to win at home. It's the playoffs. But then, you know, if you're the away team, you know you got to sneak one because you got 3, they got 4 at home. So, yeah, when it came down to game 2 that they actually had a lead in, I was disappointed. All right, you lost, but that's fine. All right, now you got 2 at home. And you see they have leads in both of those games as well that they just give up. And I just expected more from Dame, which is one of the reasons why I said myself that I felt like the conference finals were boring. It just wasn't as exciting as the second round to me. Golden State versus Houston. I'm sorry. Yes, Golden State versus Houston. Portland versus Denver. Toronto versus Philly. You know, Milwaukee. Boston. I understand it's more teams, but still, those series were exciting. You know, aside from maybe Boston, you know, losing, you know, winning game 1 and then just losing the next 4. Like those games, like those series, those were exciting to watch. Portland and Golden State, it was just like, all right, you might as well not even been in that. With the opposite side, I really kept telling everybody, I feel like that's a little bit different than Portland, Golden State. I need to see Toronto at home. Yes, you lost both games in Milwaukee, but I just don't feel like that's Boston where, oh no, it's just over. I need to see them at home. You have a very close game in game 3. You win game 4. Now it's tied. So out of that, I'm getting something, but for some reason, the games themselves are just not that exciting.
Do you think people are kind of like bored of the idea of Golden State winning because it just seems so inevitable? Like Avengers, like they already got 3 or 4 of the Infinity Stones, and like it's inevitable. It's going to happen. It's going to happen again.
This is more intriguing than some of the past, let's say the past 2 finals since, you know, KD has been here. The reason being is obviously we know that, you know, when LeBron was in Cleveland, obviously LeBron in the finals, great. You know, you want to see him perform, however. But everyone knew it was going to take a miracle, you know, just a virtuoso performance from LeBron to even beat Golden State. Yeah. So I think that may have been only part of the reason why it's like, okay, well, let me just see, you know, what this is about. But we knew deep down they were likely either gonna get swept or a gentleman's sweep, which they did in both of those series. So we knew that wasn't going to be super competitive. This year is a little different because both of these teams we've talked about during different points in the season saying, hey, do you think that they can beat Golden State in a 7-game series?
Or even Boston at a certain point.
It
was up. Like, yeah, it was up for debate.
Philly, even for a hot second, was, oh, well, what could they do against Golden State?
Right, because you looked at Golden State, felt like they had no answer for Joel.
Right. So it wasn't just the fact that, oh, well, these teams actually have a legitimate chance to make it to the finals, but it's like they could make it to the finals, and we could see a universe where they could potentially beat Golden State. It's been more realistic than the past 2 years have been. I like the idea of having Toronto against Golden State as opposed to Milwaukee. I don't like what I see from Milwaukee these past 2 games. I get it's in Toronto, the environment's been hectic and all that stuff, but Eric Bledsoe's doing his disappearing act again. Mirotic hasn't had the impact that I thought he was going to have. Brook Lopez had his 1 game, you know, in game 1, and that's it. Back to reality.
One of the things people forget, and I mean somebody else kind of brought this up. He had 29 points in the first game of this series.
Who did?
Brook Lopez.
Okay.
He had 27 points in the entire series versus Boston, total. So it's not like Brook Lopez is, but there goes your second guy. No, that's not his role. You know, so I never really trusted Milwaukee, and I actually brought that up as well. I never trusted Milwaukee supporting Cavs. I like Toronto's a little bit more. I understand that they've had their issues through the playoffs as well, where it looks like it's just Kawhi and 4 other guys on the court that you could pretty much replace with anybody. But just on any given night, I'm expecting Toronto supporting cast of a Siakam, of a Ibaka, Gasol, Lowry, Van Vliet. I expect
Norman
those
Powell's
guys.
Been playing
exactly. I expect those guys to be better than Milwaukee. Yeah, I just expect for Toronto to be better. So between the two, yes, I prefer Toronto. Plus, that was my prediction to come out of the East anyway.
Quick question: who is Milwaukee's second guy? Giannis is
Chris
obvious.
Middleton.
It
Chris
should
Middleton?
be Chris Middleton because
Okay.
he was the All-Star.
Okay.
He played well in Game 4. The only one that really played well in Game 4.
And then with Giannis, I feel like if Toronto can do this to you, Golden State may find a way to do it to you as well, especially if KD is able to come back. It might be a little worse for Giannis. I mean, right now, last stats that I saw, he was averaging a little under 23, 16 rebounds a game, absolutely amazing. But you got to put points on the board, and at this time, you got to be able to score.
So I have a quick question. Do you think people are going to start looking at like what LeBron did in Cleveland versus the Warriors is going to be more so, oh, the Warriors are just that good, not LeBron not performing? Because for a while, I think
so.
the narrative was like,
No.
LeBron is holding on to the ball. He's doing too much scoring. He's,
I'm going to say
like
no,
LeBron's the reason why they're losing.
only because
Now it's looking like this team is just that good.
this is why I say no. No individual player on any team that you see Golden State being can you say was better than LeBron. Or at least that's the narrative, that LeBron was the best player in the world, better than the James Harden, the Chris Paul.
So just
the
because he
Dame.
said it, he was supposed to win.
Well,
the
he wasn't the
finals?
only person that said it. No, but I'm just speaking of, oh, well, you did this to LeBron, so maybe we shouldn't give LeBron that much slack because you're doing it to everybody else. No, he's supposed to be better than everybody else. So that's why we look at you like that.
Well, that's what I'm saying. Like, well,
Yeah,
is
but
this
like,
team
is it
that
going to get to the
good?
point where
Well,
the
that's the-
team, exactly.
That's the reason why we ask the questions of, well, can this team beat the Bulls? That's why you look at them and you see they won 73 games. So that's already established. We already know what Golden State is, but that doesn't cut LeBron any slack on getting beat 4-1 or getting swept because you're still LeBron James and you shouldn't be beaten like that.
But no,
It's
I
not
mean,
fair,
if you
but
look
that's
at
it.
the
That is what it
surrounding,
is.
no, I don't think that's the narrative anymore, though.
Since
really don't
when?
think
Since
that.
this playoffs?
Well, no, I think what it is just like if you're you can be the greatest player in the world at the same time. If it's not a single player sport, so he can be the greatest player in the world, but if the supporting cast around him can't help him or provide what he would need in order to be able to overcome a obviously generational team that is going to go down as one of the greatest teams of all time. So, and this is who he's had to face every single time. And so, I mean, if you're going to say that that doesn't really hold much weight, I don't think that'll hold up for a very long time. If you're looking at just player, if you're just looking at player and not the team, there's no other player who has done what LeBron has done. Teams LeBron has been on have underperformed. I wouldn't say he has underperformed because every time he's been in the finals, he has shown up. Except for the Dallas series, every time LeBron has been in the finals, he has shown up and balled his behind out. Meanwhile, the rest of his teammates have not been able to match what the team that he's facing has been able to put up on the reverse end. So that's why I feel like if you're looking at a player's stats and who's going to be the greatest player, I don't think that this is going to affect his long-term legacy.
This is the problem. One, we're talking about a guy, I don't know why, but this is a guy who's known for making players better. So if your supporting cast is not playing at their very best when they have to, because this is the last team that we have to play to complete the season, then I do have to look at you like that because that's your best skill set from what's said about you. The other point is you've carried.
Because one other person said that about him?
No, I'm not talking about one other person. I'm talking about that's what's said about LeBron.
That was said about LeBron James for a long time, and now I'm seeing that that's not the case.
I've been saying that, but that's what you say about it.
To win championships, you have to play with championship level caliber players.
Okay, but this is also a guy who beat that same team. So you can't keep saying, oh, well, it's not like you lost every single time. So no, I don't look at you and say, well, they're just that good, so you just couldn't beat them. No, you did beat them. So you really don't have the same amount of excuse the same other times. And then also
The following year they picked up KD.
Wait, did he lose to them twice before he?
No,
He
what?
lost to them once, and then they won, and then they lost twice.
Okay. So after they got KD, it was a wrap.
I mean, basically for those two,
Exactly.
yeah.
Okay. No, I do remember, and I'm glad you brought that up, Carl, because I do remember LeBron being said about LeBron making people around him better, but that only goes so far. You know what I mean? You have to
Exactly.
you have to pass the people that can score. You have to you have to like depend on people to like do other things that you're not already doing.
It's not even just losing, it's kind of how you lose. And then you also have the argument which is being created now. Are the Warriors better or worse with Kevin Durant? So, okay, you lost to them twice without Kevin Durant, but you also lost to them without Kevin Durant, and they're looking like they're good enough to win right now without Kevin Durant. They won 73 games without Kevin
Yeah, but
Durant.
he's not playing
so
them.
you arguably can say that they were better without him. So you can't just, oh, well, they got him, so that's why they were unbeatable. Like I said, you can argue that they were better without him. And then you lose 5-1, and then you lose 4-0. And I'm sorry, but I don't excuse 4-0 after seeing Allen Iverson beat the Lakers in LA. I don't care who you are. You don't get swept if you're that great. Don't tell me how great you are if you get swept.
They should have won game one.
I'm not gonna say that the Warriors are better without KD.
I
And
said you can argue.
I know
It's
you
not
can't.
a
You
stamp.
can't. You can't argue.
Not a
it.
stamp.
I know this has kind of been the conversation over
Right.
the past couple weeks, especially seeing the way that Golden State handled Portland without KD
And closed out 5
and
and
closed
then
out
beat Houston,
Right,
in
right,
6.
right. I would argue that they're not better, and the reason being is, I think to an extent, you know, everyone's been building for and kind of preparing to beat Golden State with KD. You've seen the way they played. You've added personnel to beat that iteration of that team. You watch them in film and all that stuff, preparing for that iteration, and then come playoff time, all of a sudden he's not there, and now they go back to 2015, 2016 Golden State, which you didn't necessarily prepare for. To an extent, you're catching teams by surprise right now.
For 6 games or for 5.5.
For 5.5, but for Houston, I think it really caught them by surprise. Like PJ Tucker even said, they just play different. He was like, they're not better, but they play completely different, which is true.
Yeah.
You did not see Steph running around, 5 miles around the half court just to get for an open three.
You
He didn't
don't
do that
with
once
Kevin
while
Durant
KD was
because
there.
Kevin
Exactly.
Durant doesn't pass that ball.
Right.
With Steph doing it.
Yeah,
you
I mean,
have to have a completely different
Exactly.
offense.
Your chances of getting a good shot are high when KD's there, because if for some reason your offense is sputtering, just get the ball to KD and he'll get you a bucket.
Right, from the
period.
post, from the 3, I'm taller than anybody guarding me.
Exactly. So that's not. Well, I'm not going to say they're better, because they can get a bucket practically whenever they want to with KD on the squad. Because Steph can ISO, Clay can ISO. They're just not at their peak playing ISO ball, but they can do it when they need to. And that's kind of the way that they have to play with KD. But when KD is not there, look at the way Draymond Green took over in that series against Portland. Draymond got to loosen up, and that changed everything.
But that's why I say you can argue that they're better. Look at the way the offense moves with versus without.
Right.
You can say that it might be a little harder to guard. I mean, you can look at the 5 and say, okay, you're not as talented without a 7-foot marksman,
right,
who can dribble like a point guard on the floor. You're not
Yeah.
as talented, but you're basically, you can say that you're better.
Right. The only reason I won't say better is because really they can do everything that they do, or everything that they did in 2015, 2016, but it's just not in their best interest
not to
do
because-
that. You know what I mean?
I don't know.
They could do it. They have the talent to do it. I mean, you add KD. KD could run all those same plays that Clay runs.
Yeah.
But it's just not in your best interest. So I get what you're saying. I get your point, but I just don't think that they're necessarily a better team, but they play better together.
That's what I'm
Yeah.
saying. Playing better, not
The
necessarily.
the synergy is
Yeah,
better.
you play
with
better.
KD off the floor.
Yeah, that's what I mean.
Quick
Yeah.
question. Y'all remember NBA Street Volume 2, right?
Yes.
Remember Stretch,
Yes.
That's
like,
KD on steroids.
basically?
Well,
Stretch was
KD's steroids.
Stretch was
on
a
steroids.
cheat code. I feel like having a cheat code on your team doesn't necessarily make your I mean, you still have to pass to him, but I mean, how much better are they with him than without him? Obviously, they can still smack teams without him.
Yeah, I mean, you still got your 2 consecutive championships, or you have your consecutive championships with.
But I mean, if you have an ace in a hole, like you don't even have to revert to your old ways until he goes down. Which is what they did.
KD's gonna be great for the finals because let's say if they do end up playing Toronto or they play Milwaukee, 2 of the best defensive teams, they're gonna figure out something to
because he's a
stop that
matchup
ball
nightmare.
movement, and your offense is gonna sputter, and you're gonna go to KD when you need a bucket.
That's the only reason why I want Giannis in the finals.
And
So he can.
he draws the best defender. If KD's on the floor, Kawhi, Giannis, that's your matchup.
There is no more switch everything.
Exactly, but now
defensively.
somebody has to deal with Steph and a possible 20, 30-point quarter from Clay.
So who would you rather have guard Steph? Kyle Lowry, Eric Bledsoe? Like who's gonna be guarding them?
Kyle Lowry.
I mean, if I have to choose, I guess I'll go with the guy who made the first team all defensive in Eric Bledsoe, I guess. I mean, if I'm choosing between those two just for defense, I guess I'll go with Eric Bledsoe because apparently he had an amazing defensive year. But like I said, I still, I chose Toronto to come out the East. So between those two, I'll say Danny Green. If it's Toronto and I got to go with a guard, I'll go with Danny Green.
To guard Steph or to guard Clay?
No, the question was Steph. Yeah, I put Danny Green.
I think
on it.
Toronto's the most flexible defensively.
Yeah.
Because you got Lowry, Green, Kawhi,
Siakam
on the floor at once.
Ibaka, Gasol.
Ibaka. Yeah, so when you need to take Gasol off the floor, you can bring Ibaka in and
Right.
still not lose much, on the defensive end, rim protection, rebounding.
And you can be a little more fluid defensively with your switches because Ibaka is more mobile
but
than
with
Gasol.
right, but when it comes to Milwaukee, take Mirotic off the floor, take Brook Lopez off the floor,
Giannis got to play center.
pretty much at all times. Yeah, and that means that they're gonna have to go small. So who do you bring off the bench for Milwaukee?
Connaughton.
Yeah,
He getting work.
Pat Connaughton, probably George Hill. You probably play
Yeah,
George Hill and
definitely.
Bledsoe together.
Balling, bro. Like the last the last series.
Yeah. So Connie, who would you rather see in the finals, Milwaukee or Toronto?
Probably Toronto.
Just for memes and content, I'd rather see. Yeah, I want to see Drake on the sideline in the finals.
Really? That's why. For memes.
Well, yeah, this is entertainment. This is entertainment from top to bottom. Let's be real.
Drake, I'm just being honest. Drake adds no value to basketball from an entertainment standpoint for me.
The whole entire environment, with or without Drake, Toronto, I like their ruckus crowd, that environment more than Milwaukee. To be honest,
Yeah.
I'm not that
Milwaukee just
intrigued
sounds
by.
boring. Too many syllables to say your city.
Do you have the score right now for the Toronto Milwaukee game?
Milwaukee is up right now. I want to say that might be up like 7.
Okay.
60-51. Milwaukee. It is 8:40 left in the third quarter.
Andre Iguodala had some comments about Steph earlier in the week. He was talking to the Athletics' Marcus Thompson about Steph Curry, and he said, quote, "I think he's the second best ever. I always thought that about him. I knew, but other people didn't know."
Second best ever player.
Yeah,
Yes.
second best ever.
Not point guard, but ever. All positions, all players.
I would say no, just because he can't do it defensively as well.
I'm saying no because I don't understand why people keep disrespecting Kareem Abdul-Jabbar. I'm going to
That
say it right
too.
now because we're on a public platform. Kareem Abdul-Jabbar is the greatest basketball player to ever play. Michael Jordan is the greatest NBA player to ever play. When you consider high school, when you consider college, when you consider NBA, I don't know, no man that has a resume like Kareem Abdul-Jabbar. That is the greatest man to ever play basketball. But Michael Jordan is the greatest NBA player to ever play, and Kareem is second behind that. And Steph Curry does not have a better resume than Kareem Abdul-Jabbar. Forget Magic, forget Isaiah, forget LeBron, forget Larry Bird.
Oscar Robinson.
No, you're not better than Kareem. So no, you're not top 3. I mean, you're not top 2. I'm sorry. Get it out of here.
How many championships did he win in college, Kareem?
I think he won
All 4 years?
3. He only at that time you couldn't really play as a freshman. Kareem Abdul-Jabbar was the best basketball player in high school, his sophomore year, his junior year, his senior year. Kareem Abdul-Jabbar was the best the best player in the NCAA his sophomore year when he played, his junior year when he played, his senior year when he played. He won Player of the Year all 6 of those years. And then you come into the NBA and you're Kareem for 20 years. You're Kareem for 20 years. Of course, at the end, you get your 10 and 9. I'm older now. I've been in the league for 20 years, and I went to college for 4 years. I just only played for 3. So, of course, it's different. I'm in my 40s. But Kareem Abdul-Jabbar is the greatest basketball player of all time, and Michael Jordan is the greatest NBA player.
I've never heard that said that way or presented that way, because I
think
I
different
agree
than
that a lot of
everybody else.
people. Well, no, you're you, so I assume you do.
I take that as a compliment.
But yeah, I feel like Kareem gets overlooked a lot of times, and that's just because people love Mike. People love Mike. That's just the way it is.
He's more relatable. 6'6" is still. I mean, you're 6'6".
Yeah.
Yeah. So relatively, that's still tall, but it's more relatable than 7'1", 7'2", and then you played, a further time away, not as much media. Michael Jordan wasn't just a great basketball player. He was advertisement. He was a brand. Kareem didn't get that. Kareem didn't have Nike. Kareem didn't have a shoe like Jordan.
Well,
Kareem didn't
was
have
more
McDonald's commercials. Michael Jordan had commercials with Michael Jackson.
Well, Kareem,
at his
he
peak.
changed his name. It used to be Lou Alcindor. He had that controversy with him changing
that too,
his name.
the Muslim thing. Like
yeah, you know what I mean? He was more political than Mike has ever been. I think so.
Absolutely.
And just like he didn't have like the crazy shoe deal, and he was his prime.
Space Jam.
His prime was during a time where technology wasn't where it was when Mike hit his prime. So I think that could contribute to people's lack of forgetfulness.
Michael Jordan with the dunk contest. Michael Jordan just had more to view. So you just look at him differently than other players. Even now, when you see somebody like LeBron doing what he does on the court, off the court, everything is in a comparison. Oh, you want to do Space Jam. You want to do Space Jam 2 because we've already had that.
Yeah.
Oh, you got the shoes. We don't sell like Jordan. Like, you want to be an actor, but, you want to do all of this, but we have to compare it to Mike. With Mike, we didn't compare that to Kareem because Kareem didn't do it.
Aren't you tired of people comparing everything to Mike though? Like Mike is just the benchmark or the blueprint. Like,
I feel like if you want
sometimes?
to be the best, you have to compare it to Mike because that is the best.
In 30 years, kids who are watching Steph Curry right now are going to say there's never been a player that they've seen play quite like Steph. Yeah, there was LeBron, but he was old, and he only beat Steph, blah, blah, blah. Like, they're going to have all these reasons to justify why Steph Curry is the best player. And so it's going to change. It's going to be generational. Everybody's going to have who they feel is the best player of all time. And so I think Steph has just added his name to that category.
Steph is only, 30 years old right now?
Exactly.
He may
win another 7 years.
He may win his 4th championship this year. Even if he doesn't win another championship for the rest of his career, let's just say
4, bro.
Let's just say that that KD does move on, and let's say, I don't know, the Splash Brothers play together for another 3 years, and then like Sakani said, he plays for another 7 years in total. I don't know. He's gonna shatter a lot of the 3-point records. I mean, completely shatter them. It's not even
gonna be close.
They probably won't be touched again for a long time.
It'll probably be like Kareem numbers, honestly.
And which is insane because
Exactly.
think about how many games Steph has missed early on in his career.
Yeah, how many fourth quarters he didn't play because they had leads.
Right, just games he missed due to his ankles and all that stuff. Dysfunction going on in Golden State at the time, that he first joined as a rookie.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, before I forget, shout out to my dad. It's his birthday today.
Oh, hey, happy birthday.
Happy birthday, Pops.
Happy birthday, Mr. Brian.
Let's get into these All NBA teams. All NBA teams were released today. All NBA first team ended up with Giannis, James Harden, Steph Curry, Paul George, and Nikola Jokic, wrapping out the top 5. All NBA second team, we had Joel Embiid, Kevin Durant, Dame Lillard, Kawhi, and Kyrie. All NBA third team, Russell Westbrook, Blake Griffin, LeBron, Rudy Gobert, and Kemba Walker. Some of the notable names that people think may have gotten snubbed: I heard Klay Thompson, heard Bradley Beal being, two of those premier players kind of left off of the team. What do you guys think about these All-NBA teams? Anyone missing out? Anyone should have been placed a little higher, a little lower?
Karl Anthony Towns can go in that conversation for snub. If you just look at individual performance, he can go in the conversation.
I agree with you in that I felt like, well, you didn't necessarily say it, but you mentioned Klay.
So on that third team, you're talking about either knocking off Kemba or knocking off Russ. Would you have knocked one of them off for Klay?
Yeah, I would have knocked Kemba off for Klay.
That's
But
disrespectful.
Kemba averaged what, like 25, like almost 26 points a game, 5 assists, 4 boards. I understand the
Sure.
team success wasn't there, but he had a heck of a year. And Klay, I think, was just over 21 a game. I mean, solid year for Klay, nonetheless. But
Wait, what did Bradley Beal do? Because I'm feeling like Kyrie might have took some spot.
Bradley Beal averaged 25.
I'm putting Beal over Kyrie.
Beal coming in at second team.
I'm putting Bill up. Whether you slot somebody else, whether you slide Westbrook or Kemba to second and slide, plays Bill on third. I just feel like Bradley Beal should have been on one of those teams.
I mean, I feel like the first team, that was kind of set in stone practically, with the exception of Steph. I mean, Giannis, James, PG, top 3 finalists for
Yeah.
MVP.
Jokic caught me off guard initially.
He had a heck of a year.
Yeah,
I
I know.
mean,
I had to
I
remind
think,
myself.
I think the only reason Embiid would have been first team had he played more games.
And with Jokic, he averaged 7 assists.
Yeah.
That's a lot for a center.
That's what I'm saying. I think when you look at 7 assists,
He averaged 7 assists.
average 7 assists
That's a
this
lot
year.
for a center, bro.
Yeah, like that's that.
At any level.
I'm saying like
Yeah.
that's per game. You dishing that out. That's hard to debate.
I wonder what new dimension he's gonna add to his game, because if he can, that's gonna be hard to guard.
I mean, the only thing I feel like he may have to add is just becoming an elite shot blocker. You block 3 shots a game along with 21 points.
But he's one of those
10
dudes
assists
that's-
and 7 rebounds. You get 3 blocks a game. That's
what do you
crazy.
think Jokic's vertical is? Because
Less than DeMarcus Cousins.
So another snub that I noticed, and I understand his team was terrible. Devin Booker,
No, that one I do care
26.6
about.
points per game.
I'm sorry, that one I do care about.
Why? Oh, you just completely 180.
Yeah, I do, because I feel like they fluff his stats. Now, at the
What do you
end of
mean
the
by that?
day, you still have to put the ball in the hole. So it's kind of, yes, my team is terrible, but I'm playing against other NBA players. And all of these players I'm playing against aren't terrible. That's why my team is where my team is and their team is where their team is. But when you're put in during scrub time and you're a Devin Booker and they're just like, just go get your buckets, I don't count. But that adds to 26 a game. I just feel like
if I'm a coach on Phoenix, right? I'm Phoenix's coach, and like we already gonna lose. I'm not gonna be like, yeah, you can just chill on the bench. Like
Why
it
not?
doesn't matter. Cause you gotta show some kind of heart, bro. You can't just go.
we're
But-
down by
but
30. What
but
heart?
at-
You should have
it
showed
doesn't
heart in the
matter.
At
first
the same
quarter.
time, though, if I'm,
What's the average age on Phoenix team?
I don't
they're one of the
know.
youngest teams in the
Right.
league.
Okay, but
So
who built that team?
But that has nothing to do with him, though.
Yes,
I mean,
it
that's not his
does. We're
fault.
talking about
It doesn't have to
sh-
do with Devin Booker. If I'm a hooper, I'm gonna go out and ball.
Well, no, I didn't say that.
Simple.
I said the team that allows him to do that. That's what I'm saying. Like, no, if I'm a player,
So
and
you're
you
gonna
tell
bench
me, then yeah.
your best player because
If we're
you
down
already
by
know we're gonna-
30,
I mean, I
same way I bench him if we up by 30.
I was
What's
gonna
the
say
point of you being in the game?
I agree with Carl though, because especially if I'm a head coach, okay, I'm
That
coaching
looks
this terrible.
bad
I'm
on the
coaching this
organization,
terrible.
though.
But I'm coaching this terrible team. Okay, we're down by 20. Midway through the fourth, I put Devin Booker back in, and he gets hurt.
You
Then
look
what?
awful
Now
as a
you,
coach.
you just risked the entire franchise, although we don't have much to put in anyway.
And the
You
last
just gave
thing
up
you
our
can
only
say
hope
is,
due to
"Oh,
injury.
well, I was trying to come back." No, you weren't.
Okay, so my question is this: I didn't even think we was gonna be talking about Phoenix Suns today, but what do you think the Phoenix Suns should do about that? Because as opposed to just developing players, which is kind of the Lakers' issue right now, everybody's just young as hell.
Mm-hmm.
There's a lot of teams like that. They have to develop
I
their
think
players.
Phoenix needs to find veteran defensive players to add to their team. I think they need to solidify their point guard position. You have your scorer in Devin Booker. You have your wings in Josh Jackson, TJ Warren. You got your big man in DeAndre Ayton. You need to find some defense to fill in, which you tried to do with Ariza, but you quit on him midway through the season and just traded him away to Washington for another young player in Kelly Oubre. But you still need to solidify your point guard spot.
Do you think they're trying to tank on purpose?
Absolutely.
Oh
Okay.
yeah.
So if I'm Phoenix, what point guard? If you're a GM
Chris
for
Paul.
Phoenix, you're trying to get Chris Paul in Phoenix.
I feel like at this point,
You're not trying to draft a younger point
No.
guard.
because youth isn't going to get it done. And at some
They have
point,
nothing but youth right now.
that's what I'm saying. Like, what is youth going to do for me? I have youth.
Okay.
I need some intelligence.
If I were
You got a lot of people on your team that are young.
why Chris
that
Paul, though?
know how to.
Exactly.
They're
Why would Chris
talented.
Paul do that?
Because if
Well, it's
you're
not
building,
about, one, Chris Paul's under contract. I don't have to talk to you to get you to come here. I can trade for you. Only thing you're going to do is, I don't want to play here and buy you out. All right, well, if that's where I am, then okay. But that's who I'm shooting my shot for. Kemba is a free agent. You have to convince Kemba Walker to come play for Phoenix. Not going to do that. Kyle Lowry, you have to convince him to possibly come play for Phoenix. Not going to do that. I'm talking about a veteran point guard with defensive intelligence along with an offensive skill set to put my team together. Why not?
if I'm Phoenix, the person I'm trading for is Mike Conley.
Or Mike Conley.
I'm trading for Mike Conley because the Grizzlies want to offload that contract.
Yes.
Everyone knows that. So if you trade, and Phoenix has the cap space, so if you take
Right.
on a Mike Conley contract, you can say, okay, well, throw in a first round pick because I know how badly you want to get his contract off. You're able to kind of get more than you usually would for a Mike Conley.
The only thing I would wonder about is, what do I have to give up?
Yeah.
And that's kind of for either point guard because there's still value. But I just wonder, what would I have to give up? Because I would, aside from the four names that I gave, with the four names that I gave, Booker, Jackson, Warren, Ayton, only person who I'd really be willing to trade is TJ Warren.
I'd be willing to
Josh
give up
Jackson?
Josh Jackson
I
if I
like
needed
Josh
to.
Jackson.
I like him, but I'd be willing to give him up just because it may be better for my franchise long term.
trade. I think it'd be
Wait,
like
what?
a
For
three-way.
a Chris Paul or a Mike Conley in your analysis that may be out the league in 3 years?
Well, for Mike Conley, and the reason being is because for a young team, you need to have some sort of veteran presence first and foremost. And I think having a point guard the caliber of a Mike Conley, someone that can get a bucket for themselves if they need to,
Yes.
but also someone to make it easier on Devin Booker and not make him have to feel like, hey, I got to get the ball and I got to ISO every single time.
Yeah, because he even said it. They're trying to make him be James Harden in Phoenix, and he's not that.
Yeah, I mean, show these young guys how to really play the game, even if it's not all about. You're not gonna get peak Mike Conley. I'm not expecting that. I'm not looking for that. But someone to come in and just show you. Think about like how Derek Fisher has been for the Lakers. Coming up.
What
like,
Jason Kidd?
it's
They were
it's that
all veterans,
Jason Kidd,
but Jason
yeah.
Kidd in Dallas.
Right,
Those
so I'm
veterans at that
looking
time.
more for that
Floor
locker
general.
room impact than I am
Yeah.
even necessarily wins and losses. So,
You have to put somebody in that locker room, not just a coach. You have to put somebody in that locker room to teach these young guys
Right.
how to play basketball. You know how to shoot,
Right.
you know how to dribble, you know how to dunk, but you don't know how to play basketball.
Yeah, so I think pairing a coach like Monty Williams, who's their coach now,
Right.
with a Mike Conley or just some seasoned, established
And that's
point
another
guard
reason
like
why, because
that.
if I'm not mistaken, Monty Williams might have been with
I
New
think they did.
Orleans
I think
while
they
Chris
crossed
Paul was there,
crossed paths for a couple of seasons. I think
if I'm not mistaken.
maybe his
But-
his last years before.
But I just feel
Clippers.
like I kept saying Chris Paul because I feel like he might have to accept the fact that you're just not going to win a championship. You might as well just get your money and that be it. Because if things don't work out in Houston, where does he go? San Antonio? Does that make y'all a contender? Do y'all beat the Warriors if you got Chris Paul?
we got 2 point guards already.
You know what I'm saying? Like,
Good.
I feel like his organization. Some organizations just know how to run better teams.
Oh yeah, without a doubt. That's why Minnesota can get all the talent in the world and it doesn't make a difference.
Yeah.
It's a structural, it's organizational structure,
Right.
and it's something I think even fans will never truly understand until you're actually in that environment. You're in the arena dealing
Right.
with these executive management. So
Because it winning happens from like the top down. I didn't believe it at first. I thought you just put a good team on the floor and they
I
should
feel like
win.
that may have happened before, but I don't think that's
But it
a
doesn't-
formula that
it's-
everybody
yeah,
should try to follow.
But it's not. It doesn't breed
Exactly.
long-term success.
No, not at all. At some point, kind of like what you're saying, the head has to be strong. Your head has to be the strongest part of your body. I don't care how. I'm saying I don't care how buff you are. I don't care how healthy you are. If you are mentally weak, if something is wrong with your head, if something is wrong with your mind, the rest of your body will fall.
Yeah.
So if your owner, if your GM, if your head coach, if somebody in high priority of that organization and not just the team, but the organization is off and creates any dysfunction, at some point that's going to fall down to your team's success.
I wonder how it feels to play for the Lakers.
Boy, if you talk about the Lakers one more time, you don't hear me talk about the Kings every episode.
Because you ain't a real fan.
Ooh, you know you lying.
All right, so let's talk about these NBA awards. The finals were announced earlier this week. So for MVP, the finalists are Giannis, Paul George, and James Harden. For Rookie of the Year, we got DeAndre Ayton, Luka Doncic, and Trae Young. Sixth man, Montrezl Harrell, Domantas Sabonis, and Lou Williams. Defensive Player of the Year, Giannis, Paul George, Rudy Gobert. Most Improved Player, De'Aaron Fox, D'Angelo Russell, Pascal Siakam. And Coach of the Year, Mike Budenholzer, Mike Malone, and Doc Rivers. When we're looking at MVP, who do you guys have?
I got Giannis.
Giannis.
I think James Harden should win, but I think Giannis Antetokounmpo will win because of what he did defensively. If Giannis wins Defensive Player of the Year, I don't think he wins MVP.
Really?
But if he wins MVP,
You know another reason why I think he'll win MVP? Because I feel like the NBA is trying to branch out more and overseas, and they want him to be the like one of the new faces of.
so
I mean,
does
he's
he
already one of the
deserve it or
faces.
is he given?
I mean, they do give the award to. I mean,
But
I'd
I'm
say
saying
he would
if
earn
that's
it.
the reason why.
I'm saying it would be a plus for them. That's all I'm saying.
So I know on an earlier
It would help
episode,
their market overseas.
I feel like when people talk about him being MVP, they look past the fact that he got Mike Budenholzer.
yeah, I remember you mentioned that on an earlier episode.
People be sleeping on Mike. But I mean, well, the fact that he's nominated as Coach of the Year, not too many people are sleeping on him.
Yeah.
But
I think he'll win.
anytime you discuss Giannis as an MVP and not bring up Budenholzer, you disrespectful.
They've mostly focused on just Giannis's progression as a player and attributed it to him. Because I mean, he has gotten better every year.
I mean, you see it.
So they just figured it was bound to do this anyway. So I think they try to make the argument of regardless of coach.
I was gonna say, do you think we should do the same thing with Mike in regards to Phil Jackson?
No, because Mike and Phil Jackson basically, well, actually, Mike touched the NBA before Phil Jackson. Phil Jackson had success in like other leagues, but Phil Jackson's first NBA championship, that was Mike's first NBA championship. Budenholzer showed that he was basically an elite coach with what he did with Atlanta before he went to Milwaukee. So that's the separation.
I just meant like in regards to coach and player
development.
success, bringing something exactly,
No, because Mike was
bringing
having
something
success
out of a
before
player.
Phil.
Mike does
What
everything on his
success
own,
did he have though?
including
Individual
win
success
championships.
and success that Giannis didn't have.
Which is what though?
But if you see,
You're not familiar with Michael Jordan's individual accolades?
I mean, but if rings are what counts, then
Well, that's
what
not
had
all that counts. And right now, we're talking about an individual accolade of MVP and not, oh, well, if Milwaukee wins the title this year, do we credit Mike or do we credit Giannis? I'm talking about Mike was great as a player before Phil. Phil just implemented a system with Mike and Scotty and other players that allowed them to have the ultimate success as a team. With Giannis, yes, you saw a progression, but I think the numbers themselves that you're seeing, which is the difference between this year and years prior, a lot of that has to do with Budenholzer's system.
so you're saying there's not really a correlation there.
I think that there's a separation in the analogy. I understand what he's trying to say, but I think that they're different
They're two
because of
different
what Mike did before Phil and what Giannis did before Budenholzer. Like, I think there's a difference.
I'll put it like this: even if Giannis had the same statistical production this year, without Budenholzer.
I don't think
I
they'd be
think-
number one.
I
in the
was
East.
just gonna say I think they'd be like the third or fourth team in the East. So I think Budenholzer brought that team success, and we all know when it comes to MVP, it's heavily weighted towards team success as well, with the exception of Russ winning MVP, where
Right,
they were the
'cause
6th seed.
triple double.
Yeah,
it's just
right.
like,
That was
we
just
gotta give it to 'em.
that was a glorious feat.
Milwaukee
but-
was 8th last year, and now you're number one. Who do you credit that to? Brooke Lopez coming over?
yeah,
Mirotic?
Could be. No, I'm kidding.
George
Yeah, I
Hill.
mean, that's coach.
I did say on an earlier episode that I thought, kind of like what Carl said, I thought Harden should win MVP, but I think it is going to go to Giannis because Giannis has had a tremendous year. And I think there is a little bit of, not necessarily voter fatigue, but it's like, okay, we get it. James Harden's great.
Yeah.
Like, cool. You know, it's not like he necessarily went to a whole nother level this year. It's just more of the same. But Giannis is like, okay, this is kind of new. We haven't really seen this before. And then to come with the team success, best record in the league,
Right.
I think that will be enough to kind of seal his fate as
his
MVP.
story is going to get it for him, but I just like James for it.
Yeah.
But honestly, I've had James as my favorite for the MVP, honestly, for the last 4 consecutive seasons. I'm just be honest. I felt like he should have got it over Steph because I felt like he did more with less, being number one in the West at that time. I felt like he deserved it over Russ. Yes, Russ is averaging a triple-double, but they were like 6th in the West, and I just didn't like that. Triple-double is fantastic. Give him his own trophy. But I just didn't see MVP.
I
I
think
think he
start
finally
that.
won it,
Yeah.
and now I don't know.
I think for James Harden's sake, it's probably good that he didn't win all 4 MVPs.
Oh yeah, that would have been. You won 4 consecutive.
And you can't even make it to the finals.
That's awful.
Yeah, that would have been worse for his legacy,
yeah,
which is so weird because more MVPs, more trophies.
Yeah,
but
more. It would have
not the
definitely brought
ultimate
more
trophy.
criticism.
Yeah,
It would be worse.
without a doubt.
It'd be way worse.
Rookie of the year. So we got DeAndre Ayton, and then we got Luka, and we got Trey Young.
Luka, easy.
I'd say Luka.
I don't think it's a discussion.
Luka. Is that where we're at?
Why
That's
did
where
you
we're
add
at?
a
Different,
fifth one?
bro.
Who put the fifth vote in?
I thought I said Luka.
You said 5. I counted.
Well, I put in 2 votes for Luka.
All right. I just want to know where the last one's coming from.
I
You
mean,
wasn't wrong for it.
shout out to Trey Young though, because he did make a late push, but I think it was just a little too late. 6th man. I don't even think this one's really a discussion either.
Lou.
I think it's Lou Williams
Yeah,
over
Lou.
Sabonis and over
I
Montrez.
say Lou.
Drake is a prophet.
Gordon? What, did he have too many games as a starter?
Yeah, he had too many games as a starter this year.
Oh, then yeah, Lou easy.
What'd
I
you
don't-
say, Sagani?
I said Drake's a prophet.
Lou, 6 man like Lou will. Oh,
Yeah.
you don't even like Drake. I forgot.
I'm familiar with the song.
Oh, are you?
Yeah.
You just don't like to hear it play in the Scotia Center where the Raptors play.
I just
'Cause
don't
you
like to
don't
hear
like-
that
you don't like to
Kings
see
games
them.
because we lose every time. Drake is a curse.
All right, so no discussion there. Lou Williams, 6th man of the year. I think he has the NBA record for most bench points already.
Yeah, already.
Is that worthy of making it to the Hall
Well,
of Fame? Or being the best bench player, arguably, of all time?
I mean, yeah, he's
You got
definitely in the
Buckets.
discussion for greatest 6 man of all time. You know, you have him, you have Jamal, you have Manu. I feel like
They all got to be Hall of Famers
that's
to me.
pretty much. Oh yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely.
I think Manu for sure is a Hall of Fame.
Oh, yeah, without a doubt.
I mean, because he has the championships that the other two don't have.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Just
exactly.
as individual players, Jamal and Lou should be in there at some point.
Yeah, because now everyone
Okay.
wants to have a 6 man like them.
Yeah.
But there aren't any built like
They're
them.
invaluable though.
They are.
Honestly, because if you can have Iggy's not a starter. Well, he's not always a starter, but when he gets on the floor, he always impacts the game like a 6 man.
Yeah, a steal, a block, a
Yeah,
dunk, a
yeah.
alley oop.
Right.
I'm doing something.
Right.
Yeah.
I'm
So,
not just coming on the floor and being there. Like Lou, he balls.
I was impressed with Montrezl Harrell though.
oh,
I'd
yeah.
say
He had a heck of a year.
if he continues his progression, he could be a difference maker on that team for sure. Like going forward, they might want to start building around him.
yeah. He looks like how he did at Louisville.
Yeah,
Um,
he was.
All right, let's go to defensive player of the year.
Oh,
So that's between Giannis, Paul George, and Rudy Gobert.
Giannis.
Giannis. I'm tired of Rudy.
I'm tired of big men getting it. I mean, I know Giannis is
I
6'11",
honestly
7
wanna
foot, but I still look at him like a wing. And he literally guards all 5 positions.
Who?
Yeah.
Giannis.
Giannis. I'm touching everybody on the court.
And he's got the edge on blocks and steals.
I kind of want to pick Paul George.
Go ahead and pick Paul George.
I don't know. I just don't know.
I'm going to go Giannis too. So, yeah, most improved player. I think this is really the most competitive out of all the awards, probably next to Coach of the Year. So we got De'Aaron Fox, D'Angelo Russell, and Pascal Siakam. Who you guys
I'm
got?
going with D'Angelo Russell.
With D'Angelo too.
I like the way his
Yeah.
individual improvement led to that team being in a place that I don't feel like they should have been.
And there was a buzz like in the city when they started to roll too. They had like
How you know there was a buzz in the city? You wasn't in the city.
For real, let's ask the New
That's
Yorker
funny.
about that.
Was it a buzz in the city when they started rolling?
And for him, it's not
It's a
just
headline.
where you were in 17-18 versus 18-19. It's look at the way you were viewed after you were traded from the Lakers. Look at the way you like. It's just the video.
Well, I mean, he
video to that.
restarted. He kind of like restarted his career essentially.
Honestly, I feel like he was just like a
Blackballed.
lost cause. Like once you get traded from LA,
I'm still
to
salty
the
about
Nets.
us trading him away. By
not
the way.
even Brooklyn, but I mean when you get traded from the Los Angeles Lakers to the Nets, it's just kind of like, okay, you're just there and nobody cares about you anymore. Nobody talked about D'Angelo Russell. You got Lonzo Ball now. You good. Nobody like D'Angelo Russell. You're just forgotten about. He made people talk about him this year. I'm still here. I'm who you wanted me to be. I just had to come over here to do it. I got my head right. I'm good. I like that storyline. And I'm a Sacramento Kings fan. So of course I would like for somebody, on our team to win some sort of an individual award. I would love to see De'Aaron Fox win that. I would have loved to see Buddy Hield win the 3-point contest, but I just going with being a
De'Aaron,
sports
he
fan. I like
did-
Russell.
And De'Aaron did improve, but I don't think it was as dramatic as D'Angelo.
Right. That's why I like D.
Or Siakam. I would put De'Aaron last.
Nah, I got him over Siakam.
Mm.
Look at who you playing next to. I'm the best player on the team. You forgotten about to a degree.
So De'Aaron Fox is the best player on the Sacramento Kings.
I mean, I feel like if
Not
he's
Marvin
not,
Bagley?
if he's not, it's
Not Buddy
debatable.
Hield?
I'm definitely giving De'Aaron Fox a leap over Bagley. With Buddy, it's a debate, but with Siakam, there's no debate. You're not the best player. You're not the number. You're not the focal point. I'm the
Are we
floor
looking
general.
at
I
the
run
best
this.
player, or are we looking at the most
Yeah,
improved
the
player?
most improved. Exactly.
No, but I'm saying I'm talking about
Because Siakam is playing different.
But I'm
this
talking
year.
about Siakam versus De'Aaron Fox. Siakam isn't the best player on his team, so your improvement is based on the fact that we're looking at other people, and then you kind of stepping up in that shadow. With De'Aaron Fox, you're a focal point to a degree, so your progression is a little harder because they're looking at you and game planning against you harder than they did last year. So for you to improve from one year to the next is a little more difficult.
Man, he be having like the wildest explanation.
Carl.
Yeah.
I mean, does that not make sense?
No, I was gonna
No, it
ask him. I
does,
was gonna
100.
ask him though. Like, so you're saying because you feel like teams are game planning harder against De'Aaron Fox than they are Siakam because he's on a team with Kawhi Leonard and other better players that you would choose De'Aaron Fox over him? Is that what you're saying?
Yes, it is
Okay.
harder to improve when I am who you are trying to stop versus you're trying to stop my teammate. So I just got to make sure I'm on my A game when I do have my chances.
Not to say that Pascal Siakam is my pick, but I'm looking at his stats right now. So last season, he shot just short of 51% from the field.
And this is this season that's
I'm talking about not this,
last year.
last year,
17,
last
18.
year. So
Okay.
yeah, where he's coming from. So last year, just under 51% from the field, 22% from three, 4.5 rebounds a game, 2 assists, 0.8 steals, 0.5 blocks, 7.3 points per game. This year, almost 55% from the field, so 5% increase, cool. 3-point percentage, he jumped from 22 to 37. Huge jump up there. Free throw percentage, he was actually 62% last year. He's 78.5 this year.
Wow.
Huge improvement.
Ooh.
The other major statistical categories outside of points, he went to 16.9. So that's the biggest jump there. But rebounds, assists,
About
not
the same.
that much of a jump. I mean, he went from 4.5 to 6.9 rebounds. That's more so based off of more minutes played. He played
Right.
another 10 minutes a game. Assists, another 1 per game. Steals about the same. Blocks about the same. But those percentages, those shooting percentages from the 3-point line, from the free throw line, obviously points, that's huge. That's major. So, I mean, I think he may not be getting as much consideration as he deserves. He's not my pick.
I see what.
But
Yeah,
Go.
I see what Carl is saying, because if I'm a team, right, and I'm like, oh, we definitely need to stop. I mean, he's going to have the ball in his hand primarily throughout the game. I get that. But I feel like you still have to show the numbers, even though
But numbers don't tell the whole story.
they don't.
Because, I mean,
but-
once you look at those percentages, like, all right, where are you getting your shots
So
from?
you would. So would you give it? Who did we mention in the category? We mentioned De'Aaron Fox, Siakam, and who else?
Russell.
and
Russell.
Russell.
Would you give it to?
I got Russell
you
winning.
got Russ, right?
And in between
So
Siakam and
you would
Fox.
have Russ,
Fox,
Fox, then
Siakam.
Siakam.
That would
last.
be my voting rank.
I would have D'Angelo, Siakam, then De'Aaron. But
I mean, at the end of the day, only one person wins. So regardless of who's voted for a second or third.
we all. Well, I mean, did we all say De'Aaron? I mean, not De'Aaron. D'Angelo.
Because you haven't, I don't think you've said yet.
Sid hasn't said. I don't think. Who do you got? Siakam.
I got De'Aaron Fox.
Do you really?
Yeah.
What's
I got,
his numbers?
I got De'Aaron Fox. So De'Aaron Fox this year. So his last year was obviously his rookie year. Minutes, he's actually played a similar amount of minutes. He's only played 4 more minutes this year than he did last year. So he shot 41% from the field last year, almost 46% this year. 3-point percentage, he went from 30.7% to 37.1%. Comes down to when it comes to rookies is they struggle shooting their rookie year more often than not. Free throw percentage went up from 72 to, well, actually it's pretty much the same.
Yeah, 72-3 to 72-7.
Rebounds went up from basically 3 to 4. Assists 4.4 to 7.3. Steals, he went up from 1 to 1.5. Blocks, I don't really care about. Turnovers, surprisingly, the turnovers have kind of stayed the same, which is a surprise due to more opportunities and having the ball more. You'd expect the turnovers to actually go up, but
Right.
they've actually been consistent.
Especially going from, you go from 4.5 assists against 2.5 turnovers.
That assist to turnover ratio is
a
much
little
better.
over 7 assists and still under 3 turnovers.
Right. So although the turnovers have technically gone up, the stats show he's been a better ball handler.
Right.
and
The
distributor.
ratio from last year to this year is much better.
Yeah. And then from 11.6 to 17.3 points a game. The only reason we were really talking about the Kings being in the mix for that 8th seed in the playoffs, I think, was highly due to his production and his emergence. Obviously, Marvin Bagley's been huge. Adding Harrison Barnes was huge, although they actually tailed off after the trade deadline and kind of fizzled out. I think De'Aaron Fox's impact was huge. And it's just not well known because how many Kings games are you watching on national TV?
How many are coming on national TV?
Exactly. I mean, it was more of a regional thing where you're watching those games. I've had a chance to see him play in person, and boy, he just tore up my Spurs. So I got to give it to De'Aaron Fox. D'Lo is close, but he just played more minutes. He only played 25 minutes last year, and he played like 32 this year. So he should be averaging going up from 16 to 21. I mean, I think that's to be expected. More opportunities for a player the caliber of D'Angelo Russell. But for De'Aaron Fox, we still didn't quite know what he was going to be yet. And now we're starting to see. Next year, I could see him being a 20 and 10. Like, I really could. So I'm going to give it to De'Aaron Fox. D'Angelo Russell, a close second. Pascal Siakam, yeah, he's coming in third, but he had a heck of an improvement season as well.
I mean,
but
being a finalist is still an accomplishment.
yeah, exactly. So I'm gonna give it to De'Aaron Fox. Last one we had was Coach of the Year. So that was between Mike Budenholzer, Mike Malone, and Doc Rivers. Who you guys got? Doc?
Nah, I don't know.
I like Doc Rivers because that team should not have been in the playoffs.
Huh.
They tried to miss the playoffs
And still.
made the playoffs.
Yeah.
I like Doc Rivers because of that, but I think Mike Budenholzer taking a team going from 8 to 1, I think he's going to get it, but I like Doc.
I'm going to say Mike. That's what I think is going to win, just because
Mike
Malone or Budenholzer?
Budenholzer.
I like the Doc pick, but I'm gonna go Mike Malone. Because the team didn't necessarily get better in terms of they
That's
they
Denver's
added
coach, right?
yeah
Okay.
they didn't necessarily add more talent to the squad.
Yeah, they just
So
got better.
Yeah, they just got better. And I mean, I think that comes with coaching, that comes with player development, and I think a lot of that comes from him putting his players in positions to be successful. So we've seen the emergence of Jokic being a first-team All-NBA player, Jamal Murray, Gary Harris. Mike Malone,
Those
I
are
think,
good
has
points,
always
though.
been an underrated coach as well. I mean,
The
being
Kings
a
never should
King,
let him go.
exactly, being
Never
a
shoulda
Kings
let him
fan,
go.
I was gonna say, he was the only dude that could really kind of get in Boogie's head and like kind of get him to just settle.
And he said, all right, well, if y'all going to do this, can you at least bring in Mark Jackson? Who did they go get? That guy, he coached Carmelo in Denver.
George Karl.
George Karl.
Yeah.
I don't know why I was going to call him Don Nelson. But yeah, went and got George Karl. That
Yeah.
was sad. I hate that we even share the same name.
Yeah, so I mean, I gotta go with I'm gonna go with Mike Malone.
I'd say Budenholzer just because it's the best team, and like you said, they were 8 last year, and that's a lot of seeds up from 8. So I would pick Mike Budenholzer.
And that's what I'm saying. Like, that's not even like who I would pick. That's just who I think would win.
Mm-hmm.
I think he's just going to win 8 to best record in the league.
But you like Doc Rivers.
I like Doc.
Yeah, I mean Doc did his thing though. Who trades an all-star player and makes the
still
playoffs?
makes the playoffs.
Well, after trading a previous all-star player in Blake Griffin, Doc did his thing. Doc is a heck of a coach. Yeah, so I mean that wraps up the NBA awards. I know they're going to be announced after the season. I think there's a special on June 24th, so we'll see who ends up taking those awards for this season. All right, well, that's going to wrap up this episode. Thank y'all for tuning in. Make sure to follow us on Anchor, subscribe to the podcast, follow us on Facebook, Instagram at FanCulturePod. Check out the previous episodes if you missed those as well. We're 7 episodes in now. Make sure to leave us voice messages. Let us know what you guys want to talk about. Stay active. Look out for the polls and everything that we're posting as well. Ooh, we didn't even ask for a poll question. We'll have you guys put in who you guys think is going to be the MVP, whether that's Giannis, Paul George, or James Harden. Thank y'all for tuning in again. Till next time.
That's a wrap.
Peace.
Peace.
Peace.